You want to record an episode?
Yay! Cue
Oh my god.
intro music. Welcome to the Yaoi Shelf. Grab a seat and relax.
We do say relax a lot for two people with severe anxiety.
Yeah,
So we're not introducing ourselves because if you're just now finding this podcast, how did you get here?
That is very true. There will be information in the
not like we don't
description box, and also you can see if you're watching the video, you can see our names.
Yeah.
If you're not watching,
then you can't.
Lo siento mucho.
No, that's because that's how visual media works. That's how visual media typically works. Oh my god. Aisha, do you want to tell the listeners at home how much you enjoyed me corseted? What?
It was magnificent.
Thank you.
I mean, you're welcome. Thank you for sharing. It's always so impressive when big titty ladies put on corsets. We love to see it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I also enjoy wearing corsets on my small titty body, but
oh my god.
There's something about
the butch lesbian who laced me in, who had way too much fun with this. Mm-hmm. She said we were going to put those girls to Jesus. They were to Jesus.
They were
to the Lord.
It's kind of amazing. I try to imagine having first I would break.
Yeah, would you like a visual aid of one boob?
That's boob. My head.
Yeah. Would you like a visual aid? This is one boob. That's one. That is a singular boob.
I just can't imagine having this.
It's heavy. I'm in constant pain.
You know what's crazy though?
Yes.
When I think about, especially because I also read a lot of Yuri and hentai, and when I see all these anime all these characters who are literally built like me, but they have boobs like yours.
This is unfortunate placement. I just realized. So this is Cocktail Zodiac. This just says cock.
It does. Cock dia. Cock dia.
So we're just gonna move that up all the way. Thank you. Okay. And we're good. We're good. Mm-hmm. Okay. As much as I do endorse the message of cock occasionally, my family doesn't need to know that about my life.
Do they really? Does your family?
Do they not know? They know.
Oh gosh.
Do they not know? They know.
Well, but do they know that? Do they know about this podcast? Do they be listening?
Oh, absolutely.
Because I don't.
No.
I mean, you know what? Actually, my family knows, but I've told them they are under strict, rule. They're not allowed to listen. I mean, unless they want to know stuff that they don't want to know.
That's pretty much how. Find out. That's pretty much how my family is. Is unless you want to learn a lot of things that you had suspicions about,
mind your business.
Mind your fucking business.
Yes. Anyway.
So what are we talking about today?
Headcanons. Bow, 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 bow.
We're talking about headcanons because it actually came up in Discord, shameless plug, the place where I hang out and Aisha watches me work like Django Unchained.
Yes. Actually, I don't even do that. I'm definitely a benevolent slave owner.
The optics of this, considering that you're also lighter than me.
Shut up! I knew it. My head, just now in my brain, I was like, she's gonna make a light skin joke.
The optics of this, I'm not as conventionally pretty, and I'm darker than you. I'm essentially a mammy.
No, shut up.
You have just made me a mammy. And
I'm gonna edit this out because you're gonna make me look like a colorist. I am not a colorist.
fucking Uncle Tom.
I have dark-skinned family.
You have made me a mammy. Here is my dark, fat friend who I make do all the work while I'm skinny and light-skinned. And I'm just...
Okay. I hate you. Oh my god. I don't have any. Oh, I do have tissue. I'm like, I don't have no tissue or nothing. Woo. That was...
Oh my god.
Oh, man.
So, a headcanon, for those of you that don't know, is a part of the great Fujin naval metaphor list. Fun fact, I love that, like, yaoi culture is built around, like, naval metaphors. I think that makes me so happy. So your headcanon is usually the strongest part of your ship. Your headcanon is usually an idea or thought or a hypothesis that you have based upon a series or a character, and you use that to strengthen your ships. Remember, in great Fujin battles, cannons protect ships. We are not aiming cannons at people. I have to say that a little louder for some of the children who should not be listening to this podcast, but I'm sure are, because 7% of you are under 18.
Right. TBH, normally I would say that they shouldn't be, but it seems like, from my point of view on the internet,
they need to hear this the most.
Yes.
So to the 7% of you who may or may not be wildin', we are not attacking people. We're attacking ships. Your cannon is to defend your ship. It is not meant to be used as a bludgeoning tool against human beings.
No murder, please.
It's also meant to be, and this is an important part about headcanons, heavily researched and influenced by a main canon. These are not just meant to be the machinations pulled out of your mind because you feel like it. Unless
you are me and you can do whatever you want.
That's not how it works. Now, I'm not here to gatekeep, because I definitely do have some headcanons that are just because I feel like it. But guess what? I don't present those.
Right. You keep it.
Because those aren't, I don't want to say they're not valid, but like there's nothing that I can defend or I'm going to use argue here, but I'm using air quotes, argue. Debate, I guess, is the better word about it. I cannot engage in discourse.
Yes, which I was going to say, that seems like the most important part. Like what's the point? Okay. Again, you can be like me and just keep it in your head, because I don't generally, but if you're going to, share it with the world, I feel like it sounds more fun when you do have kind of like this, well, I like this ship, and here's why, blah, blah, blah. And it adds to it. You know what I mean? Like all that research you've done.
You're absolutely right. That's one of the powers of shipping manifestos are your headcanons. And again, these are supposed to be heavily researched. You are meant to pull, I think this because source. It's almost like writing an essay. Your shipping manifesto, and I know I probably triggered a bunch of you, but
I was definitely like, my brain went poop. Surprisingly, I don't like to write. Anyways, go ahead.
I love writing. I hate writing essays. It's not fun. My senior research project had to be like 60 pages. I delivered it in a binder.
That sounds like...
I had like a 13-page bibliography. That was one of my senior projects. One.
That's...
liberal arts education.
Yeah.
I wrote 60 pages on anime as cross-cultural communication.
Excuse me. Oh my god.
Offended. Offended and triggered.
I was trying to hold it in, but it just like... Okay.
But yeah, so your headcanon should be researched, because think about a real canon. So fun fact about me, I love weapons.
I mean,
a
that's
lot.
not surprising
I love weapons a
at
lot.
all.
So you think about an actual cannon. If you don't fortify it, if you don't pack it right, if you don't take care of it, if you don't maintenance it correctly, if you don't aim it correctly, if you do not take care of your cannon, what they're going to do is fucking blow up on you. That's what
Sorry, I just
cannons
got
do.
a visual.
It's bad. It's really bad. When you don't take care of cannons, they explode on you and you tend to die.
Yeah.
It's bad. So think of your head cannons that way. Your research, your effort, your mastery and knowledge of the series are the wax. It's the packing material. It's making sure that your fuses are okay. It's making sure that you actually have a light, because fire is fickle sometimes. It's aiming it properly, because those things do move and you have to account for wind and where the cannon is, either on the ship or on the land. If you're doing volley fire, you have to communicate with others, because otherwise, if you do an improper volley, you're shooting into your men.
That's something that I would do. Just on purpose. Oops.
Just fire wildly. My favorite cannon packing material is I love grape shot and I love nails.
Like hammer nails?
Yes.
Coming out of cannons?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. You pack those in real good. Just nails. The shrapnel damage is chef's kiss.
That.
I love
anything. God.
I love anything that scatters and causes massive damage when it comes to cannon fire.
The nail thing kind of trips me out, because I feel like it'd be my luck. It would land somewhere that didn't immediately kill me, and so like I was just
okay. So when I say nails, it's typically like it doesn't feel hollow. Well, not that they're just big. Imagine a 4 or 5 pound cannonball that isn't solid lead. It's full of nails.
Oh.
So it's going to be a lot, and sometimes of varying sizes. That thing.
So I would die.
Yeah. Okay, there's almost nowhere that's hitting you that will not cause death at some point.
Ooh, hopefully immediately.
I don't want to cross immediately. Yeah. But also, you're probably not getting hit with just one is the problem. You're probably getting hit with multiple, which is, again, I love anything that maximizes scatter and shrapnel. I would be that creepy white guy in your history class who's too into World War II if I was a creepy white guy, but I'm black and I have tits, so I get away with a lot of things. But I like weapons a lot.
Wow.
I actually have from The Walking Dead, I made Lucille because I cosplayed as Negan. It's right in their corner. So that's the thing about head cannons. To hammer the point in, we're talking about nails. I made a pun.
That was cute.
This should be drawn from main series. Now, we have to say the legal department has let us know we are not supposed to gatekeep the Fujin experience. We're not supposed to. We're still going to, but we're not supposed to. Some of y'all need to be gatekept is all I'm going to say. Some of y'all need to be.
I'm starting to feel that way as well. You know how much I pushed against gatekeeping, and now I'm like, some of y'all don't.
It's so funny because one of my friends, like he does like the libertarian thing sometimes, and it's like, yeah, just let people say what they want. It's free speech, not free of consequence. And I looked him dead ass in the eye and said, some people deserve less freedom. And he's like, but that's scary. I know. I just went full Ozymandias for a minute. It's like some people don't need as much freedom. If you're going to be one of those people who says Nazi shit on Twitter, I don't think you need as much freedom.
Yeah, I really don't.
I really don't. So that's an important thing about headcanons. We're going to take 2 brief notes.
Let's
have a brief note about trans headcanons.
Okay.
We do not say this to be offensive or transphobic. We are merely discussing from a point of view of the culture and the discourse. So I'm going to go ahead and say up front, me personally, and I'm assuming that Aisha agrees with me, I personally have no issue with trans headcanons, as in you being creator, imagine a character as being transgender.
No, I don't see anything. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, I personally have no issue with it.
There are people who see. Oh, okay. I'm finna learn some stuff today because
yes, you are. The thing with that is, technically, because media is weird, we don't always have confirmation that would confirm that all these characters are cisgender. Now, we assume that they are, because they probably are. Let's be real. None of these mangaka are smart enough to have a secret trans character. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
It would be really... How could you even have a secret? Like...
I mean, realistically, like, I'm not going to sit here and police what being trans means.
Yeah.
Because the whole passing versus not passing conversation is not something I'm willing to have here.
Right.
Because it's 6:46 and I'm tired.
also with me not being trans, like, I would not feel...
with neither of us being trans, that is not a pool I'm going to wade into.
Like, I'm just like, no.
That's not what we're here to do. Again,
I'm here to learn.
Yeah, we are merely discussing from a point of the discourse. Now, if you are a creator who trans headcanons a lot of characters, again, on a personal note, I'm fine with that.
Yes.
My air quotes issue is that this starts to add to the problem, air quotes, of these are increasingly hard to discuss. Why do you feel this way?
Okay.
Oftentimes, especially with trans headcanons, they tend to just be due to a lack of representation, or to be very, very frank, creator nepotism. Creator is trans, ergo character is trans.
Oh.
Sorry.
Bless you.
And again, that's fine. There's not a problem with that inherently. But it does start the trend where headcanons stop becoming this thing that is researched and has some canon information behind it, and is more increasingly a flight of fancy. Now, again, using trans headcanons because there is a lack of trans representation, I have no problem with that. I think that that's fine. I think that's a reason why so many of us who make fan fiction and fan art do what we do. Is because we see a gap in representation somewhere. So I don't have a problem with that. What I do want to address is it really does seem like that's the start of where the shift happened between the more traditional understanding of what a headcanon is versus this is just a thought I had one day.
Okay, I see. So I see that. I see what you mean, because it's like it can be, because it could be kind of like hard to, on the one hand, it's like you don't want to necessarily, I guess, debate with someone about that, because it's like, on the one hand, like, it makes sense why that would be a headcanon, but also, like, from your point of view, where it's like research and you have like proof and all of these things and citations and things.
But also just, and I'm fully admitting I'm not transgender. Why? And I say that with love again, like, why? What? Because especially, like, and I've noticed this with a lot of the creators that I follow, there's definitely a trend of what characters people tend to think are trans. And I think that's very interesting. I think that's super interesting. So if anything, I do wish we could talk about this more, because it's like, what about this character that so consistently people are willing to ascribe a trans narrative to? What about this character are people so willing to ascribe a trans narrative to? Like, I think that that's amazing. Like, the two examples that come to mind are Hawks from My Hero Academia. Especially in smut, he is very often depicted as trans. And it's like,
interesting.
Why? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just curious. The other is Leon from Pokemon Sword and Shield. There's a lot of art and headcanons about Leon being trans. Again, I just want to understand. I'm not mad. I'm not judging. I just want to get it. but that's oftentimes such a personal conversation that it's really hard to have.
Right, right.
And
Because it could feel yeah. Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say because I could see it feel like I could see like okay, let's say that I am presenting a trans headcanon to you, right?
Mhm.
Like it would be really hard to um again like because you don't want to you want to understand, but
Mhm.
you don't want to sit there and be like, well, you're wrong for feeling this way. Like it's
Right.
just it's such a
Especially
it could
when
be
it's being
offensive.
ri
Like
right, and again, like, especially when oftentimes it is so done
mhm.
to create representation where there is none.
Yeah.
So it makes it very, very hard to have these conversations because, yeah, like that trend is super interesting and I would
Mhm.
love to know more about it. It's very hard to ask people why they think these characters are trans.
Uh, I can yeah.
And again, especially if you're using that as then like a creator surrogate for your transness,
Mhm.
I definitely can't ask
Right, because that just
because
because then you're
now
just
I'm
like
essentially calling into question why are you
right,
trans?
which is such
Which is not what's happening.
yikes.
Right,
Right.
but that's like the optics of that is a yikes.
Mhm. Right.
So it is in these trans headcanons that you start to see that shift. Here's another note about race headcanons and race canons. Uh, I'm gonna go ahead and say this one I tend to agree a lot less with.
Mm.
I think that there's some examples where it's okay. I'm mostly thinking about like Harry Potter and stuff like that, where it's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, well, we can in theory ascribe Hermione as African American or of African
Mhm.
descent. We can in theory, because when there is not a stronger canonical read,
Mm.
I am more okay with you supplanting in a race canon.
Mhm.
If there is a strong canonical read, I have some questions about why suddenly this character is not that thing. Now,
Mm.
that is different than just having like black fan art of something because I don't want black anime Twitter to be more mad at me. That's different. That's a whole other podcast. I just mean that if you're going to, especially like in the fiction space writing, if this character is not that thing, I have some questions as to why you're ascribing them that thing. The big thing that
Mm.
comes to mind is like, you probably weren't around for this, but on Tumblr, there was this huge like fanficification, Tumblrification of like the characters from Hamilton. And like one of them had like Thomas Jefferson like much tanner than he is, even though
Mhm.
he spent like in theory some time on an island somewhere. No,
Mhm.
I'm thinking of Hamilton who spent time, but like there's like a version of it, there's a version of Thomas Jefferson who's like mixed race and bisexual and looks like every gross guy at a Starbucks. And it's like that's not a headcanon. You're just not doing history because we know what Thomas Jefferson looked like. Like, I don't know what AU you've created for history that is somehow worse than Hamilton. I don't like Hamilton very much. I don't know if you know that.
I have no feelings about Hamilton. I never jumped on that train when it was super popular, and honestly, just from the clips that this is probably gonna get me canceled or what, I don't care. It's not interesting to me. There's nothing interesting about it. I think
I'm
it's cheesy.
yes.
And I also kind of low key feel like it's pandering in some ways because I don't give a shit
To
about
who? To white
just
nationals?
I don't know
Is
who.
pandering to someone?
It's pandering to somebody. I don't know who, but I don't
No,
care.
I agree. I think my big issue with Hamilton is again it's this fanficification.
Mm,
Like, oh, maybe Jefferson wasn't that bad. No, he was actually worse. He argued against the intellectual capabilities of black people, saying that we lacked free will and intelligence enough to make our own decisions, and called Phyllis Wheatley a hack, saying that she could
yeah.
not have created her own poetry and therefore must have plagiarized it. So whatever fucking version you have in your head is somehow infinitely worse than what actually happened. Alexander Hamilton was a douche and deserved to die. He fought with everyone. He was incredibly problematic. When he lost in a duel in New Jersey, it was not because he was some Tumblr saint who rolled out of heaven saying, free will and goodwill and air quotes racial equality.
And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Right, like that's just history. Like that's my thing with that. Honestly, that's my biggest issue with Hamilton is just you're not telling history.
Right,
That's not what. That's not what happened.
This cute. Let's make it cute.
Let's make it fun.
Some
we have
cute.
People, so it's okay.
Right, we got some Negroes.
Yeah, we got the coloreds out of the closet. Let's go. It's like
let's have them dance and sing for us.
Right. It feels like it feels more exploitative that way. We're gonna get hella canceled.
Listen, do I care for real though? Like
yes, you do. You went into the woods the last time we got heat.
Yeah, but that was because people were calling us outside our names.
What do you think they're gonna do now, Aisha?
Over some Hamilton. If somebody wants to call us outside our names over Hamilton, Aisha, y'all can leave. Get to stepping. Bye.
You say that.
I say that. I'll cry.
I would say, fuck you. I'm not letting you have that at all. Like, they can get to step. They were mean to us.
I was telling my parents, like, I was like, I talk a lot of shit, but most of it, I would never.
So, okay, I get to talk about owls for a minute. So I know you've probably never seen this, but when owls get upset, they assume this like posture where they like get their feathers all up and they, kind of step back and forth. They fluff up. And it's like, people assume that that's like an aggressive thing. Mm-hmm. No, that is the owl equivalent of saying, please leave me alone. It's like, look at how big I am. But really, it's nothing. It's air. It's literally air. Like, that is
full
the owl.
Hot air.
Right. That is the owl equivalent of, like, please don't hurt me. Like, it is doing its best to demonstrate to you that it's big and scary because it desperately wants you to leave it alone.
I relate.
Fledgling owls are very prone to this. Barn and great horned owls do like a beak clacking because it makes them sound bigger and very demonic, frankly. They'll clack their beaks a lot.
Oh.
It's very scary, but but everyone assumes it's like an aggressive thing because people still think that owls are witches and shit. It's not. It's the owl equivalent of like, please don't touch me, I'm sad. Like, it's...
I am frightened, so please don't.
Yeah, I'm frightened, and I'm trying my best not to show you how frightened I am, and I'm desperately hoping that you leave. Just desperately.
So I guess I'm an owl, although I don't really like owls. I don't like birds.
I think Black people mistrust birds. I don't know why, but no, I know why. It actually goes back to evolutionary biology. So in Africa, scientists found a skull of an Australopithecine or a very, very similar human ancestor. Mm-hmm. And there was this huge hole in the back of the head. Come to find out, there was an ancestor of the African crowned eagle that was feasting on our ancestors for millennia. They would grab our ancestors with their talons and they'd poke a hole through the skull and eat out the brain first. So there's a bunch of these skulls in Africa with like a perfect hole in the back of the head. Because at first I thought it was like an early version of a trepanning or trepanation, where you cut a hole in the skull to alleviate pressure. But Australopithecines weren't smart enough to know that. It was just eagles eating us. And there's like what we're now assuming are nests or caches of these, basically our ancestors who were eaten by eagles. So one of the big reasons why we're afraid of birds is because that silhouette of giant wings and talons often meant death for our ancestors.
We've never been able to catch a break. Like, what the fuck? Just like from the beginning of time, the universe has hated Black folks.
This was in Africa, yeah.
What? Like,
in all fairness, there was not race at this point. We were just monkeys.
That's fair.
At this stage, there was not race yet. We were Australopithecines. We were large chimpanzees. So we're going way back. This is not yet a race issue.
Okay. Well,
it'll be a race. It'll be a race
wow.
issue in a few million more years, but it's not a race issue as of yet. But that's why humans collectively have a fear of very large birds, is because we have that ancestral memory of shoot.
I mean, because they're predators. Like
Right.
they're so
and they
scary.
ate us, and some of them still eat monkeys. A lot of them actually do.
Honestly, they would eat fucking humans too. If
humans are very nutritionally poor for most animals, I say not being a serial killer. Yeah, humans are actually quite nutritionally poor. We don't evenly distribute fat. We are
we know.
Yeah, we do not marble like steak. We do not evenly distribute fat. So actually, a lot of times eating human will make animals sick. There was a case in Australia where a great white shark ate a person. He vomited up an arm and then died. He was in a zoo. Like, they captured the shark for a zoo. So now he's in captivity, vomits up an arm, scars a bunch of people, and then like dies. We're not good eating. Even for each other, we're not good eating.
Right. Yeah, that's cannibals almost always get some kind of disease, death.
Not true.
What?
Yeah. No disease that's transmissible like that, especially through the blood-brain barrier, would be in either sub-Q or on the epidermis. I am not a serial killer. I have to legally say I'm not a serial killer. I know too much. I know too much and confidently. But yeah, okay, so I'm lying. There is some encephalitis that you can get from eating brains. But that's like really, really rare, and you have to do a lot of it. But like the occasional cannibalism that most people are engaging in.
Partaking in? Yeah, sure.
Well, okay, if you ever want to have a good time, consensual cannibalism on Reddit, very fun.
Nope.
It's
absolutely
just people making meetings to eat each other.
Not for me. Unless you go eat. Bless you.
Thank you.
The only thing I want eaten.
I mean, I'm sure that can be arranged.
But I don't want it actually eaten. I don't want teeth.
Be careful with your wording on Reddit.
Right. Like,
on
hey,
Reddit cannibalism forums.
And they're like, sure, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they typically go for like the thigh. Like, they go for like a meaty part.
Listen, my thighs are the meatiest they have ever been and will probably ever be, and I don't have any to share. So
I require this tissue. In theory, humans are said to taste quite like pork and are to be treated as such whilst cooking.
I don't know why. That just grosses
Again,
me
not
out.
a serial killer.
Yeah.
Again, not a serial killer. So with all that in mind, how are headcanons used now?
I mean, from my perspective, again, as an outsider, are they used?
Yes. That's why we're doing the episode. If they weren't, we wouldn't be recording this episode. And I'd be playing Animal Crossing.
Listen. Oh, you know what? Yeah, eventually. I was gonna say we should exchange friend codes. Yeah. But every time I say that to someone, I'm like, yeah, I'll invite you to my island, and then I never do. And so I feel guilty. So I'm like, well, I don't want to feel guilty for not.
So you're just not going to do it?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'll probably still do it.
That's anxiety in a nutshell. I don't want to feel bad, so it's dead to me.
I'm like, it's just pretend it doesn't exist.
But yeah, people do still use headcanons. Unfortunately, it is kind of a clusterfuck. As headcanons are increasingly just personal projections, it becomes harder and harder to comment on them. And again, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But a lot of what BL culture is rooted in discourse.
Yeah. And if you're just
if you're just kind of jerking off to jerk off, I mean, that's fine and valid.
Then you can come over here with me.
Right. Like, I'm not here to gatekeep the experience, but it does sort of take the fun out of a lot of it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like,
Or
even
the
I
fun
can
for
agree
others.
with that. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Because even as much as I say that, even I have a lot of fun with discourse sometimes, you know? So again, I'm not like a fanfic writer or anything like that. I'm too sensitive, honestly, to ever do that, because as soon as someone told me that my ship had holes in it, I would be
but that's
I would abandon.
But that's the thing. Like, again, I have such a love-hate relationship with how gate kept my early fandom was. Because while it was shitty and a lot of it was rooted in misogyny, misogynoir, and just general white men being assholes, it made me such a strong fan. So now I know this information. Now this ship does not have holes. I have patched these holes years ago, decades ago, and they will not become unpatched. Like, there's a part of me that, again, like, as shitty as it was, really did form a much stronger fan. Because I have had my ships sink. I've had them blown to smithereens, and I've had to rebuild them stronger and with more time in the narrative and more mastery of the narrative. Like, it's crappy, and I hate that that's what it means, but I also just think it's such a richer experience of the work. Like, I have a hard time with that, with like people who are like, well, why don't you just like enjoy something for enjoying something? Because everything is propaganda. Everything is trying to push an agenda, and if you don't look at it critically, you're going to miss that. Everything is trying to tell you something. Everything is trying to teach you something. And if you don't pick up on those little things, you are at risk of being bombarded with information that is not valid or important to you. There's a line in Inuyasha, and I'll never forget it. It was Kagome's back home with her friends. They're at Whackdonald's, because you can't say McDonald's. And she's describing Inuyasha to her friends, and she says, he's violent, arrogant, and can't let go of the past. And one of her friends says, oh, he's an American. I mean, not false, but like, that's said intentionally. That is not a throwaway comment. That is said with intent. And if you do not examine that, why Rumiko Takahashi, an older Japanese woman who likely is much closer to the atomic bombs than any of the mangaka that have come after her, would have negative feelings about America.
I think something that I will add, though, is like the problem that I see is that actually, let me take that back, because young people are writing fan fiction. So very young people are, but it seems like the ones that tend to have the best grasp on it and like can understand what like the things that you're talking about are not usually the people that really need to be careful, because it's like, and that's not like, that's no shade to like, actually it is shade to young people.
Yes, it is.
It absolutely is, because like I've been one who's like, oh, I don't really pay attention, but I do pay a lot more attention to what I'm reading than I give myself credit for. I just, because I in general am not like, again, writing fan fiction or whatever. I just, everything's in my head, but it's like, and then I regurgitate whatever like is in my head in like video form or something like that. But I feel like kids, because I guess I'm going this way because I think about Inuyasha is technically, it is a kid's show. And it's like, kids aren't picking up that, and it's kind of scary.
Right. And I don't really know why it hit me the way it did, because I was, 14 watching. I was like, wait a minute. Well, no, I know why. I'm a culturally abandoned African American living in North Texas.
Mm.
So I was already ripe and ready to say fuck it to the US
Mhm.
because they didn't represent me.
Right, right.
I
And so
was
it was just like, I'm not like that.
mhm.
Yeah, I can see. Okay.
It's
Right.
also, and this is generational and a tangent. There's an acquaintance that I know who I know also likes anime but is younger.
Uh-huh.
So I started greeting them in Japanese, sort of just assuming, like basic weeb understanding of Japanese.
Mm.
And they didn't understand what I was saying. And like to me, that was such like a line in the sand because I
Mm.
know like when we as a group started liking anime and manga, we learned suffixes and prefixes and we learned as much like Japanese as like high schoolers who were taught through manga could. So
Mhm.
like at least your basic greetings, your thank yous, your no's. Most of us know how to say sexy things in Japanese because many of us voice acted that stuff when we were too young and on school property.
Interesting.
Cough.
Interesting.
Like so just like that basic lack of that basic lack of knowledge to me, which I'm
Mhm.
admitting probably sounds hella gatekeepery, but like I don't know how you can live in this world and
Mm.
not examine it.
Mm.
I don't understand how you can consume anime and manga and
Mhm.
not examine it. When I was running the anime club in college, we had like a couple bake sales. We made onigiri, we made
Mhm.
takoyaki, like we did these things. And it's like, because if we're going to say that we like this world, we're
Mm.
not just going to be fucking weebs in a basement.
Mhm.
I'm going to connect you as much to Japan. That's why we went out of our way in our constitution to be a Japanese culture and anime club.
Interesting.
We
Yeah.
weren't just weebs in a circle jerk watching cartoons,
Mhm.
which a lot of anime clubs, to be frank, are.
Mhm.
It's like, no, you guys say that you like this stuff? Japan is a real country with real people and real traditions.
Mhm.
It is not a made up fictional
Yeah.
land that shits out
Right.
anime. Like, it's because that was so integral to my understanding of anime and manga,
Yeah.
learning as much as I could.
Mhm.
There's to get back to headcanons again, like talking about research, I'll talk about Inuyasha one more time. There is in those early Viz translations of Inuyasha, there's a lot of time spent going over the suffixes, and one
Mhm.
of them being about the ones attached to Shishomaru being Dono and Sama,
Mhm.
and the two translation differences between those. Both, of course, meaning lord or master, but one being a much older and more respectful term for that than the other.
Mm.
So then who uses what suffix tells you a lot about their interpersonal relationships.
Mhm.
That's something that if you aren't paying attention, you will miss. And that's something that is prime fodder to feed your headcanon.
Mm.
But if you aren't looking for it and you aren't paying attention,
Mhm.
you're not going to see it. Even though it's really not hiding anywhere, it's
Right.
right there. They spell it out for you. It's one of the big reasons why when translations are bad, going
Mm.
from Japanese to English, it pisses me off so much
Mm.
because you've neutered a lot of context.
Right.
So, uh, with that being said, what can make headcanons great?
I mean, I am going to assume, well, if you, I guess if you know what you're talking about, like having, I don't, uh,
You know what would be helpful is if you read the outline before we
yeah.
recorded. Just a little piece, just a little nugget.
Well, they're well researched and well thought out. Oh wait, I said well as
Oh
when. I
my
can't
god.
read. When they're well researched and well thought out, headcanons can be amazing little additions to lore and help you become a stronger creator.
Read
Ding
verbatim
ding
from the
ding ding
outline.
ding ding.
Yeah,
I that
exactly.
was from my head.
No, it wasn't. I can see where your icon is in Google Docs. Google Docs is a snitch, and I thank them for it. Change nothing except for giving me more storage. Please give me more storage.
Oh,
But exactly, it can really add a much richer read to the work.
God.
Again, I don't like sounding gatekeepery, but really having mastery of the work is such a dying art.
Yeah.
In studying these works like they are sacred texts. Now, I will be the first to admit I am old now, and I do not have infinite time to do this. But if there's something I really like, I do still go in and I still do as much research as I can. Because to me, it's just a disservice to the work to not. Like, I won't take fanfic commissions for series I haven't watched.
Because
you can hack it. I know people that do.
You know what? That's like people that do reviews
of things I've never
on
seen.
things they've never read, seen. You know what? Because I was gonna be shocked, but it actually people do that all the time.
I mean, and I know people that do it, and you know what? You can hack it. You can get 75% there. I promise you, it's never going to be as good as writing something from a series you actually know and understand and are invested in. There's a reason why I just finished a fanfic series that has almost 50,000 words about a pairing, right? A fucking novel about a pairing where one half of said pairing gets one line before he dies. Because I have gone in and studied this text the way some people study the fucking Bible.
You know, and I feel like I say this every time we have like conversations within this kind of like vein.
Yes.
And I know that you're always like, actually, you are a big, and I know I know I'm a fan, but I really am just like, I don't know if I like, and like, I'm trying to think of what have I studied that like intensely, and the only thing I can think of is like, my vagina.
I quit. I quit the podcast.
You said holic, but okay, but here's the thing. Even holic,
yes,
like when you think about my headcanons, which is for holic, which is really the only series that I have like a headcanon for. Yes. It's a very obvious one. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't take like. Of course, Domeki and Watanuki should be together. And then I have an OT3 headcanon where Himawari gets to be in there as well. And, you know, but like that's so everyone you know what I mean? It's such a basic one.
But that doesn't invalidate it.
No, I guess not.
Multiple people were writing about gravity. That doesn't make it less interesting.
Okay, you know, true.
I know. I'm aware.
True. Although I will say that I don't know that again, we're going back to me and my issues with writing. I would totally read some holic fanfic for sure, but I'll never.
You? Why?
Because I'm lazy and I don't. I just keep it I keep it in my head because I'm just like I don't want to do all that. That's like how I am about that's also why I'm not buff, because I look at people who do like bodybuilding stuff and I like how it looks, but I don't want to do all that. So I respect the people who do. I think that's what's that's what's so interesting to me is the people who really love it, so like love what they're like, they love their favorite series so much that they're willing to put that effort. That's so much effort. And maybe it's
a lot of effort.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it's because I have kids, but I know a lot of moms who also, I say I know them. I don't know them personally, but I know there are a lot of moms who probably have more kids than I do who still write fan fiction.
Right. So. And that's the thing. Like, it's so funny because, you know, you said like, oh, it's kids who are writing fanfic. It's actually not.
Mm.
It's still a lot of us. It's a lot of
Yeah.
older creators that either never stopped or, like me, took a break and got bored.
Mhm, mhm.
Like, there are some younger creators, obviously, but there's still a
Yeah.
shocking amount of the old guard that is
Mhm.
still on the Night's Watch.
Right. And I mean, honestly, I do think that, like, um, because I think what I was trying to, I guess, um, express earlier was not so much that it's mostly kids that write it, it's mostly, I feel like it's mostly adults who write it and can understand, like, the nuances,
Mhm.
but it's the kids who are the ones who really need to be, careful because they're not necessarily able to discern things in the same way that adults are. So when the kids are writing fanfic, if they are,
Mhm.
um, I'm like, did you understand the assignment? You know what I mean? You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, like definitely adults are out here, um, you
Still doing
know,
the Lord's work.
still do, yeah. I mean, to the annoyance of a lot of the youngins because they're like, ew, you're
I
you're
love that.
sexualizing
I love
minors.
that the kids assumed that we would age out of fandom. And in all fairness, I did too.
Mm.
I remember graduating from high school. I gave away a bunch of my manga. I gave away my Naruto headbands. I did that because I was like, you know what? I'm an adult now. This is dumb child stuff. I'm going to leave it behind. And then I had a guy buy me manga for my birthday my
Mm.
sophomore year. And it's like
Mhm.
all of it came back.
See, that is such an interesting, like, maybe it's because, I mean, for one, like, I didn't start reading manga until I was an
Hmm.
adult. So I it was just never something that I've even considered. If anything, I've grown into it,
Hmm.
just because, like, when I was younger, I don't no one I never saw anyone getting made fun of for being a nerd,
I
but,
did.
like, see, that's because, like, okay, because you also went to a bigger school than I did, right?
Yeah. Well, I
So,
started
yeah.
getting teased for it in junior high. I actually had a
Mhm.
guy deface one of my manga because I was reading it during a study break, and he
That
like,
is so weird.
yeah. So like, I also you have to just consider like socialization. I'm
Mhm,
a black Southern debutante.
mhm.
I can't do nerd shit.
See, it's I feel like
I have to
oh,
get married and make black children, as we discussed
right,
earlier.
right.
Like I can't keep doing nerd shit.
That is such an interesting because, like, I just had this is why I like having these conversations because the perspectives are so interesting. Because yeah, like, I mean, I was a ch it's interesting because I was a cheerleader
Hmm.
all through high school,
Hmm.
but I was also, like, I was pretty openly nerdy, but
Hmm.
in a different way. So, like, I didn't see people getting made fun of, and I didn't get made fun of, but also I think because I was a cheerleader and it's a small school. Like, I went to a
Hmm.
very small school, so
Hmm.
everyone kind of, like, knew each other from, like,
Hmm.
elementary school and up. So,
Hmm.
like, people already knew I was, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's
Right.
known I was weird from, like,
Jump.
jump.
Yeah.
And I've always been into, again, I feel like I've said this before that my introduction into, like, nerd stuff was through video games.
Hmm.
And so, like, people, like, video games I think have always been cool. And so I was playing stuff like, I don't know,
That
Final
see,
Fantasy and
that's not
all that
true.
stuff.
That's super one gate capped and two gate capped by mostly
Really?
men. So
That
so
is
much of
so
my experience
interesting.
was that
Mm,
this stuff one isn't for girls.
mhm,
Two, if girls are doing it, it's for attention or they're doing it
mhm,
wrong.
mhm.
Or three, that I don't really know what I'm talking about.
Jesus! Like, this is blowing my because this is stuff that I didn't hear until later, like, up
Right.
in like, in my adulthood, like, in my, adolescence and stuff. I also have 2 brothers, maybe
Hmm.
that because, like, so it was always, like, whatever my brothers were doing,
Hmm.
um, despite them being younger than I am, whatever they were doing, I also wanted to do,
Yeah, and I didn't
you know.
have that as an only
Yeah.
child. So,
Right, yeah.
no, it's completely the opposite. And
Wow.
also, I mean, to talk about representation briefly,
Mhm,
there was no model to be a nerdy adult who's of color back
mhm,
then. There was no model for
mhm,
that. The only models were like these neck beard, mouth
mhm.
breathing, obese basement dweller white guys with horrible acne who were dicks. There was no
Yeah.
model of being like a human being that contributes to society
Right.
meaningfully, but
Right.
also still happens to like anime and manga.
Yeah.
There's just not a model for that. It was the gross dude in a fedora who jerks off with his waifu pillow and has like a
Mhm.
waifu in each hand, like a little horrible
Yeah.
goblin.
You know
There was
what?
no cultural model for someone like me who
Yeah.
has a degree, has a
Mhm.
day job, and day job knows I'm nerdy and is fine with it, can
Mhm.
hold a conversation about literally almost everything,
Mhm.
but is still unapologetically nerdy and weird and eclectic and cosplays. There's wigs. I'm looking at wigs right now.
Yeah.
Like there's not a model for
Mhm.
that culturally.
Right. That is very true. It actually, like, I'm realizing that because actually my stepmom had said this to me, and I'd been unaware of this, but she was like, you've always just done your own thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what? That is actually very true. I've literally just always, I like this. I don't care if So I just never. Also, I again grew up in a very small area
Mm-hmm.
where I kind of lived in a lot of ways in a bubble to where
Mm-hmm.
like people just accepted me. They're like, "Oh, that's just Aisha. She's weird and, you know, she likes weird stuff," but they still liked me. So
Mm-hmm.
I was never like shamed for liking nerdy stuff. Now I got shamed by family for liking like white people music.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like no, I didn't really get made fun of for, liking nerdy things. And it wasn't even until after. Wait, have I ever? I when I think about it, no, I don't think I've ever because I definitely have dealt with men like treating you different, like treating you a certain way when
Mm-hmm.
you walk into a comic book shop.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why for years I didn't want to go into a lot of comic book shops, at least not alone at first. I
Fair
would
and
go with
valid.
like Matt, yeah. But after a while, I started to realize that like more than anything, it was dudes like, "Oh wow, you like this? Oh, that's so cool," and then they just leave it at that. I'm wondering if there are a lot of factors that
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
There was one time I was at the card shop because I still play Yu-Gi-Oh for some reason. And I was
Why
going
not?
through yeah, life is short. I was going through cards and this guy comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, do you actually play Yu-Gi-Oh?" And
Mm.
I have cards in my hand. Like I'm going through boxes. Have cards in my hand. And I looked at him and said, "No, my parents are somewhere in the store shopping and they left me here years ago."
It's the years ago for me.
Like I've just been in the same spot waiting. Like fucking Bruce Wayne. I visit the same spot every year. Just waiting for them to come back. Like, yes, like I have cards in my hand. I have a pile like yay high of cards that I'm intending to either purchase with money or sexual favors. Like I'm going, yes, yes. And even if I'm not, even if I am just one of those fucking people who are like, ooh, pretty picture. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Just let me live.
And even if I am one of those people, which I am not, it's just like, oh, pretty picture. Pretty picture. No. Leave me the fuck alone.
Mind your business.
If I get one more fucking incompetent man who looks at me while I'm doing a thing, oh, do you actually like this thing? Eat my asshole.
I'm wondering, maybe I give off "don't fucking talk to me" vibes when I'm
It's
out and
the
about.
round face. I look like a cherub and I'm not.
Like, cause people, there was one time when I was at a bookstore where a guy did approach me, um, in the manga section, and it was literally like he was so nice that he like, um, but he had recommended Spice and Wolf, which
It's not a good series.
I didn't say it. Well, okay, I'm not gonna say that it's not good. It just didn't grab me because I took his advice and got like a couple of it, and I was just like, I mean, this is fine, but it wasn't for me. I could see why he liked it though, because
Because it's a male
the
power fantasy of fucking a wolf.
I it's I don't know. I didn't get that far, so I can't
a
really.
flailing male power fantasy about fucking a wolf when you have
So,
no discernible positive characteristics at all.
so, so I haven't read enough of the series to actually review. But I'm just like I wasn't
Oh, look at
grabbed.
you trying to be
Um,
balanced for once.
I wasn't
Look
grabbed,
at
and
you
so
trying to leave me on Hot Take Mountain.
well, it's only because I haven't read it. If I had read
Look
it,
at you.
listen. If I had read the whole thing, I would probably be right there with you.
Look at you trying to leave me on
Um,
Hot Take Mountain.
but
Bitch.
I know too many people whose tastes I generally
Are
trust who
bad.
also like it, and so I'm like I'm in a space where I'm like I don't know. I have to read it first to like
Okay.
really make.
A
I don't
value
know if I
judgment.
will, but I'm
Coward.
yeah. I don't like to talk about things that I haven't fully read unless it's Naruto. I do like to talk shit about Naruto, but that's
Naruto
really
has not
tongue and
hurt you.
it's really tongue in
I'd say
cheek.
Naruto has not hurt
Yeah,
you.
because honestly, Naruto is not like
It's not the
it
worst.
is really not.
It really isn't.
I just really enjoy annoying people and talking shit about Naruto and also One
Once
Piece,
I say
which
One Piece, they deserve it.
it's just funny to me and people get so upset and I'm like, do you know
Yeah.
that I don't actually care?
One Piece fans deserve it. I say as a former One Piece fan.
Man.
So what are some of our headcanons relating to BL or canon or non-canon ships?
I
You
mean,
want me to go first?
yes.
Do you want to popcorn back and forth, or do you want me to run through my three and you run through your three?
Let's which one let's just do 3-3. That way we don't have to forget. I don't know where that came from. I don't know what that means.
I don't know either. That's why
Uh,
there's an outline with
yeah.
points.
Uh-huh.
Almost like I do this on purpose.
Uh-huh. So go ahead.
Whichever one of us travels to meet the other first, I hope you know you're getting a hug and then like a prompt like punch in the neck. Like it's gonna be one of those hugs that's like a little bit too tight and then just
like trying to break my spine.
Right. It's gonna be just like it's gonna
I'm
be a
like,
little like that little crescent moon that you get when nails press into skin. It's gonna be just a little too tight.
I'm like looking at you like
Right. And it's just gonna be it's gonna be punch in the neck. And no one's gonna know where it came from. No one's gonna know that it's been years of abuse building up. No one's gonna know. It's just gonna look a random act of black on black violence. There's gonna be some inner city crime. When this has been a calculated, I have been training my whole life for this moment. So my three, I tried to keep them as BL as possible. Full Metal Alchemist, I completely believe that Roy and Hughes have touched dicks, especially in Ishbal. But I do believe that they stopped seeing each other like the minute Hughes got married. I respect the sanctity of that marriage so much.
Right. As we all should, really.
Yeah. So I do headcanon that Roy also respects that. But I completely believe that they 100% have fucked in the past. Those men have laid together. There is no other reason for anyone to have as much loyalty to Mustang as they have. Because really, as Rit, he's quite unhinged. Yeah. So that's headcanon 1.
I like ye.
2 is actually from Hitalia. It's not as BL, but it's essentially BL. France's birthday is July 14th, Bastille Day. And I've always had huge issues with that because if you know anything about the French Revolution, Bastille Day was one of the bloodiest days of that kicked off the terror of the revolution. And if you know anything about France's character, why in the fuck would he celebrate his birthday on a day like that? So, because we can only assume that, of course, France, the country, is much older than the storming of the Bastille, that the day was up until that point, uneventful, and every birthday after has now been somewhat somber and quiet. So again, when you talk about headcanons and research, that's pulling in actual historical knowledge and then fusing it with character information. So knowing that France really loves parties, but tends to be a little bit more introverted at times, that one, he would absolutely be the person to make his birthday a huge deal because he's a Cancer like I am. But it also just doesn't make sense that they would have his birthday as like one of the saddest days in French history. Like it's not. So the thought process was for Hitokaz was that like you give it to like an Independence Day or something, but you wouldn't call the Bastille Day an Independence Day for France. Bastille Day literally is just the day the Bastille prison was stormed. It kicked off the second wave of the French Revolution and as the Terror, where all of the guillotine and stuff happened. So it really isn't an Independence Day. It's not really anything worth the fanfare that it kind of later gets.
Right.
So it makes no sense to make that his birthday. Also, again, considering that he existed for literally thousands of years before Bastille Day happened.
Right. Why not give him...
Like, he existed for thousands of years beforehand, but pop off, I guess. So that's a really, really solid headcanon, as in you're pulling in a lot of different information from a lot of different places, which, again, you should be. It should not just be a machination of one horny brain, in theory.
In theory.
Sometimes it is. But headcanons at their best tend not to be. My final is one that I think Aisha probably agrees with me with. An Antique Bakery, while Ono says he is super over Tachibana being garbage to him when they were in high school, I do not believe that to be the case at all.
Oh.
As evidenced by everything he does in the dojos. And fucking Tachibana's essentially ward.
Revenge.
Right. Like, I don't necessarily enjoy making Ono that duplicitous, but I will say I do not think it is past his character.
Right. Well, and he may not even be like consciously aware of it. That's trauma. That was a traumatic moment for him. Of course, like, and he didn't have therapy because nobody in Fumi Yoshinaka's stories
he definitely didn't get therapy for it. But yeah, like I tend to headcanon that because it helps me cope with the fact that Tachibana gets a pass in this series. He's awful to Ono. He's so awful to a lot of people. And I get it. He had trauma and he was suffering and blah, blah, blah. But he was still garbage to a lot of people and really gets a pass. And that bothers me. As someone who's had to write a lot of passes, I would like to write no more. Now I choose violence.
That is absolutely fair. Tachibana really is not... okay. I'm trying to step away from saying good or bad people because I feel like everyone has the capacity to,
Also, these
are characters. Right. I was going to say, but these are characters.
He's not real.
So he's awful. Because he only has one. He's like we see that and he's trash. So
yeah, I mean
lovable trash, low key.
Yeah, but he does apologize, but I think Ono forgives him way too quickly. And before anyone tries to at me, well, it's been like 20 years. Ono is the pettiest hoe you will ever meet in a narrative.
When's his birthday? Is he a Cancer?
I think he's a Gemini, actually. Right. Right. I'm almost
a Gemini, and they are so petty.
I think he's a Gemini. Yusuke Ono. And you're right. I don't necessarily think that it's all like intentional. Like I don't think he has like, a dartboard with Tachibana's face on it and he's like throwing darts at it every night. I think he's just not as over it as he thinks. Yeah. Which is fair and valid.
Yeah. Also, like this idea that like we have to get over things just because it happened X amount of years ago. That's not how time works.
Yeah,
honestly.
that's not how trauma works.
That's not how trauma works. Time is stupid.
It is.
Time is well, everything's a construct. Anyway, the point is that
Because
time is not real.
So to deepen the headcanon, think about just like that first volume of Antique Bakery where Ono applies to work there. One, that name is not that common. Again, before you at me with Keiichiro Tachibana is a common name, it's not. Or Keisuke, depending on which translation you get.
Yeah.
It's either Keisuke or Keiichiro. I always knew it as Keiichiro. One, that's not going to be a super common name, especially in that area, so don't at me with that shit. Two, the minute Ono walks in and sees a dude who's the exact fucking same, he has not aged.
Right, not
he has gotten taller. Because he doesn't grow the porn star mustache until later. So
and even with that, he still looks
right. The same fucking guy. And it's like, it doesn't just leave. Doesn't just walk out. Because that's what I would do if I'm applying for a job and I look at whoever's trying to hire me and they call me a slur.
Right.
I am picking up my shit and I'm leaving. I'm not saying a word. I'm getting my knives. I'm getting my apron and I'm backing out like this.
And they're just standing there like,
yeah.
Who?
No, absolutely not. So this whole bullshit of like, oh, maybe he didn't recognize him. He had to. So no, Ono's not over it. And if you're going to tell me that he is, I think you're a fucking liar. And debate me. Because I don't think he's over it. I fundamentally don't. Again, why is he still working with Tachibana? He has done nothing to redeem himself outside to give Ono money for him to buy nice clothes. Ono's making the most money out of anyone in the antique. Ono is using Tachibana and milking his guilt.
As you know what?
Which I do that with one of my abusive aunts. So game recognized game. This is not a headcanon done in shame. I do the exact same thing. Which is why I can spot it.
Yes.
Ono's over here baking cakes, talking about a Hermes bag. Bitch, unless you're prostituting, you cannot afford Prada making cake. You don't work for a hotel chain. You're not doing anything like that. You don't work for an amusement park or a really, really nice restaurant like a Nordstrom's. You don't do anything like that. You are in some guy's fucking nice vintage basement selling cakes out of a window. You can't afford Prada.
And that's on period.
Right. That bothered me so much. Oh my god. Like I think I actually looked up like what pastiers make. It's not that much. They do definitely have a capacity to make a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's not wearing fucking Prada regularly money. It's not Hermes bag money.
It's really not.
It's not.
It's
Yusuke.
Oh gosh.
Anyways.
Well,
remember how during our FujoCon panel I said some of us have been on X Games mode for 20 years? That's what I mean. Some of us have been on X Games mode for 20 years. If we have just had time to just sit and just stir these pots. Aisha, you're black enough. Have you ever made a roux?
Yes. Well,
you know how?
Yes.
What do you mean? It's not a technicality.
Yes.
It's not.
But it didn't work out for me.
Okay, but the answer is yes. Like it's not okay. It's not. It's a yes or a no. This isn't a Schrodinger's cat scenario. Either have you or have you not. I was not asking about the quality of the roux. I was simply asking whether you have or you haven't.
Yes.
Okay. You know how in a lot of Southern households, you don't ever like clean that roux pot. Like it's the same roux. You just keep adding to it.
Right.
That's what fangirls do with headcanons. We've just been stirring this shit. Some of us for 20 years. That roux is thick and you can murder someone with it. Just beat people with that. Like a pan of hot grits in a Tyler Perry movie.
Oh God. Speaking of, do you know who Kenny JD is?
Yeah.
Do you watch her series Bad Movies and a Beat?
No, I don't, but I should.
You should, but and her most recent one is about acrimony. I haven't watched it yet though, but I watched part of it, like what
Mhm.
she was saying, and she's like in defense of it, and I'm just like, wait, so I have to watch it and
Also, can we talk about that clip that I sent you for Tyler Perry movie where it's like, that's how you got the venereal disease, Walter. It was him. Boom. And then just goes across and chokes this
that
woman out.
honestly, that is something that I will thank Tyler Perry for because it's such a messy,
That was that
ridiculous,
was so messy.
so good. Like that,
We're gonna have to share that on main Twitter.
yeah,
That
that
was
was
so but the escalation because it's like a family dinner and like one cousin like airs some drama and then now just all the cousins, yeah, what about that divorce attorney your husband saw, and it's just like
it's a
escalating,
mess.
and it ends with an act of marital violence. But it's like, god damn.
Excuse me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I keep yawning.
Mood and same. I
Yeah.
worked all day today.
Hmm.
Mood and same. What are your headcanons?
Okay, so I kind of mentioned one of them already in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning or earlier. We Watanuki and Domeki probably, honestly, okay. I think that most people see Domeki as the top, but I will say that for me personally, I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe that. Domeki is absolutely um well, they're probably verse, but Domeki is usually the bottom because Watanuki gives me he gives me very much. How do I say this? He gives me extremely verse vibes, but depending on the person, like I feel like with Domeki, he is
Mm-hmm.
definitely the top. Domeki would do so much. Domeki will do anything for
Interesting.
Watanuki.
Because
And he
see,
has.
I would argue service top,
See,
but I can see where you're
no,
coming from.
because just and even after reading Holic Ray, or at least the four volumes that we have,
Mm-hmm.
there's some like Domeki he literally puts his life on the line so many times for
Right.
Watanuki, and of course he just it's like his comfort place almost.
Mm-hmm.
He loves being of service to Watanuki, and
Mm-hmm.
Watanuki. Okay, maybe I kind of identify with him a little bit because
Oh,
um
we're just now realizing that? We're just now putting that
maybe
together?
that's why I love.
Okay.
I definitely feel like in the situation with Watanuki and Domeki, Watanuki is generally the top.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my other headcanon is also okay. This one is it's not. It is also related to Holic.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is actually one that I've never mentioned out loud. It's kind of problematic, but I do ship Watanuki and Yuko. Um,
Why is that problematic?
well, because we don't know how old Yuko actually is. I mean,
And?
she's well, just in case,
And?
because he was a teenager when they met. But I don't think in my head, like
And?
they didn't start messing around when he was. It wasn't until you know a little later.
I also don't care.
I'm just,
You
I
kids,
just
you fucking children.
I just like the two. I like the thought of the two of them together.
They have a
They
fantastic
have
dynamic.
such a wonderful dynamic, and in that case, I do feel like here's so in my head canon. So you know how I said that Watanuki is verse?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when he's with Yuko, so he likes to be pegged by Yuko.
Mm-hmm.
So she is more so the top, if you
Mm-hmm.
will, with Watanuki, and it's almost. This is gonna sound so creepy because I do not have like a mother kink thing. I don't have that, but I do kind of. The way that their dynamic is, the way that he gives off more like responsible vibes,
Mm-hmm.
as far as like he does the cooking and the cleaning and he takes care of her in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But he has this level of I don't want to say innocence because that sounds creepy, but this
No, it doesn't.
inexperience about other things. And so, and
Naivete.
yes, and she is very, she's, so it's like, yeah, on the one hand, he is more adult-like, I guess, than she is, but she's more experienced in other ways, and it's just, mm, it's sexy. I like it.
That's her.
Um, so that's yeah, that's two. And then to try to step out of Holic, let me look at. Hold on. Um. Oh, you know what? Actually, mm, no, actually, never mind. That one I would have to think too hard for. So,
Aisha, that's the point.
well, because I was thinking about Paradise Kiss, and I was thinking about George, who is bisexual, and just he's my favorite. I love him so
I
much. He
also
is
love him.
my absolute. Just he's a chaotic bi, and I love him. I feel like he's probably slept with everyone, honestly, in his friend group. Like that's my headcanon. He's
That's
absolutely
not a
slept with
headcanon. That's just real.
that's just real.
Yeah,
He's
you can't
definitely
call it a headcanon if it just exists.
he's definitely slept with all of his friends.
Mhm.
But I really think that his relationship with, oh crap, but I cannot remember. Oh, I can't remember their name. Oh no. The really fabulous one, who is not, I mean, I read them as trans, but in the story they're not necessarily, they I want to say that they're kind of, they're like a cross dresser, but like
Didn't
they
the
feel,
anime retcon that?
what?
Yeah, I thought that the anime retconned that.
I don't know. I've only read the manga.
Yeah,
What?
I'm almost 100% sure the anime retconned that.
That is upsetting
Yeah,
because I wish I could remember. Oh, I'm so upset that I cannot remember their name because they were also
Isabella.
yes, Isabella. Um, I love, and I'm saying they because if I remember, I've only
The
I
anime retconned that. So canonically transgender woman.
wait. So in the anime, they like wait, hold on. So in the oh wait, okay. So they fixed it in the anime.
Yeah, that's what retcon means, retroactive
Okay,
continuity.
okay. I was trying to think about what that meant. I was like, I don't know. Okay, okay. So that's not upsetting. That's good.
Yeah,
I was confused. I was like, what does that mean? Did they
yeah,
take
they
it out?
retconned it. No,
Okay.
retroactive continuity. Yeah, they fixed
Yeah.
it
Okay, good.
essentially.
Yeah, because in the manga, it's again like it's pretty easy to read Isabella as trans, but it was very but they're very much
I don't know about that because what
in
I remember in the manga is that there's a
mm,
lot of being upset about dead naming. So if anyone used her
it
birth name,
was kind of written as like a joke. Like it was made into like a joke.
but is that bad writing or just a lack of?
Mm,
Because to me that doesn't make it any less canon. That's just bad writing.
true.
Because
Hmm.
I've
I'm
never had
gonna
an
do a
issue. I've
reread.
never had an
Yeah.
issue reading Isabella as trans in
Right.
either format.
Hmm.
I always just described whatever nonsense like that is just bad. Because also keep in
Hmm.
mind when this series was written.
Right. True. I'm gonna do a reread because like I definitely read Isabella as trans. But it felt almost like because I was
Mm-hmm.
worried that it was for one, I was already worried that it was going to fall into those really kind of like
Mm-hmm.
Fushigi Yugi, how they did. Why can
Mm-hmm.
I not remember characters' names? But the another um, definitely easily read as trans character
Mm-hmm.
who, at least in the anime, gets they're like, oh no, it's actually my sister's spear. I'm not actually. Anyway, that was such a weird. And they called this character by the the Japanese slur for a trans person
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not going to say here.
It's not
So
just a
I was
Japanese slur.
yeah.
It's just a slur.
Yes, and
It's just a
so
slur.
it's just a slur. So I was worried that it was gonna that was gonna happen to Isabella. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like that um egregious. But I'll have to do a
Mhm.
reread to see if I was just like being sensitive and and triggered
Yeah.
because yeah. But anyway, I definitely feel that Isabella and George have a very. I feel like they have a very deep like a very deep relationship that may
Mhm.
not it may not look like what we consider to be, you know, a traditional relationship, but it's very deep and there's a lot of love there
Mhm.
and also fucking. Like they
Yeah,
definitely
I actually so I can speak to this one a little bit because
mm.
I ended up modeling a character
Oh.
or two off of that dynamic, uh, because
Oh.
I love Paradise Kiss.
Mhm.
So I
You've
ended up
mentioned.
act so I ended up actually modeling a character and again, a couple of them after that. And I agree. I think there's definitely, or at least my headcanon was that there was
Mm.
intimacy at a point.
Yes,
There might not be
absolutely.
intimacy now,
Mhm.
but there was definitely intimacy that, especially so for in my narrative instance, it ends up being two characters that are trans but in different directions. One female to male, one male to female. So there was
Oh.
intimacy there, but both fairly early into transness.
Interesting. Yeah. Mhm,
So
mhm.
they both essentially just got to learn how to be their best selves
Mhm.
together.
Right.
And it
Rather than
creates this very deep and trusting bond that is almost more like
yes.
that platonic ideal of a soulmate, of like someone who
Yes.
does
Mhm.
complete you, but it's not
Right.
necessarily something that you're having sex with.
Or but if you want to,
Yeah, but
you
if you
know.
wanted to, you could.
And still actually be
Right. And it still
like
be fairly
friends and
healthy. And
close
yeah,
and loving.
exactly.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you agree.
Why would I fight you on that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I love Paradise Kiss. That's always something that usually shocks people. I absolutely
Mhm.
love Paradise Kiss. I think it's
It's
so
great.
good.
Honestly, it's so great. Like I don't see why anyone would not like
I
it.
can see I know some parts of it have not aged well,
Mm. I mean,
or as well as
sure.
possible. I'll
Yeah,
say that.
right.
I do think that it's still, for the time especially, quite
Mhm.
revolutionary because, yeah, I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
because I do remember it being more canon that Isabella is
Mhm.
trans, especially, like, with the
Okay,
dead naming and everything. I don't
right.
remember it being, like,
It's been like
uh
a
that's fair.
year or so since I've read it,
That's
so
fair. Like, I don't recall it being
Mhm.
quite so, like, veiled. I do
Mhm.
feel like it was pretty hammered in,
Pretty yeah.
"Oh, that's a trans woman, and you will
Right.
respect her."
And
Because,
you
like, yeah.
please,
Yeah, because George will beat the fuck out of you. Like,
please,
everyone will beat the fuck out of
please.
you.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, like, even though sometimes it is played for a joke, I mean,
Mhm.
also there's concurrent works now that still do that shit.
It's
So I'm not gonna
so
give a series
I hate it.
that started in 1999
Right. True.
any
Too much
flack
crap, yeah, for
for doing something that people in the year of our Lord 2021
are
still
still
do,
doing.
and to real people.
Sometimes sometimes I really hate it on this planet. Like Earth
Same.
is so ghetto.
Earth's real
Earth
ratchet, you're
is
right.
ghetto. Have you not heard that song?
I have.
It's
I
so
exist
great.
on the internet, I have.
Oh wait, side note, one more headcanon, just a bonus one that I want to mention,
Sure.
has to do with Animal Crossing. So yes, my all of my villagers are well above um they are all old. Okay, everyone is at least 25 um on my island.
Okay.
And so for a long time, he no longer lives on my island, but for a long time, the character Kid, he is a goat. He's a blue goat. He's very cute. He was my he was my Animal Crossing character's bisexual husband, and Kid was also dating Sherb, who is another blue,
I
um,
know who the
g
characters are,
yeah,
Aisha.
but Sherb is gay, and so Sherb and I were just friends, um, and so it was
Aisha,
like
did
this
you make
little
a weird polycule in Animal
yes,
Crossing? Okay.
and I had a gr like, and so I actually all the ladies on my island are all my girlfriends. So, and
So remember what we said about headcanons not just being horny machinations?
um,
Remember what we said about headcanons
but
not
there's
just being
evidence. There's evidence because I have screenshots of certain conversations where it's very suggestive. It is, and they always
Aisha,
be giving me gifts.
It's literally a game meant for children. What do you mean?
They give me
They're
gifts,
programmed to Aisha, no. Aisha, no.
and they
No,
be
no.
kissing. They be visiting each other's
No.
houses.
I'm
They
denying you. You are
they be
no,
visiting each
you
other's
no,
houses, and
you
they're
are
like,
objectively
okay.
no, you're objectively wrong.
This is my island and I can do what I
No, no, you can't.
want.
There's a
I'm
capitalist
gonna fuck
raccoon
all
that
my
just
villagers.
God. Oh my God. No. No, you're literally wrong and I can't support this. No, you're objectively incorrect.
Wolfgang was also he was a daddy there for a while when he
Bro,
lived on my island. Right
no.
now, Julian is I think he's my bisexual husband right now. And I'm also Rowan is on my island. He's a tiger who is like into sports, and he's my
I'm
himbo side
currently
piece.
I'm currently trying to get rid of Clyde. I don't want him on my island.
Who is Clyde a horse?
He's like a neon green horse and he's dumb
Ew,
looking and I hate him.
ew.
Uh he's dumb looking and I hate him and I don't want him here.
I'm trying to get rid of Snake. He's a rabbit ninja thing,
But
and
his
he
name is
moved.
Snake.
Yeah, he moved onto my island from a friend's island, and at first I was like, oh, and now I'm just like, I don't want him here. So I'm trying to get him kicked out. But anyway,
I had a small existential crisis, so it goes back to that point that you made about I overthink things.
mm.
So I have Hamfrey on my island, and I actually quite like
Oh,
Hamfrey.
Humphrey is so cute. I love him.
But I gave him a hamster with a cage, and I had like a crisis of like, what is the difference between an animal that you don't eat versus an animal that you eat? Because like Pascal eats scallops, and there's a
Right.
museum, and in that museum they have like convergent evolution, where like according to the evolution of that world, villagers and humans are on a similar timeline,
Yeah.
but they're not the same. So like, what is the existential dread of a sentient hamster owning an enslaved hamster?
It's I understand. You're actually not the
Oh, I
first
know I'm
person
not. I'm
no,
not.
like out of my friends. Like
Oh,
you're like the second, like only the second, but like one of my other friends who plays Animal Crossing gave Apple
yeah.
she's a hamster and gave Apple a cage hamster, and
And it's just
I
like
was like, oh, so
it feels weird. Like
it does.
it feels really weird. And I don't like I always say that I don't like these powers. Like whenever you're like, it's so cool that you do this, it's really quite disruptive. Because now I'm over here just like, what is the existential horror of being a sentient hamster and watching your like dumber enslaved is it like Planet of the Apes with Caesar and he's looking at like the
Mm.
other dumb apes like I can't help you? Like what is that world like? And then like what makes a villager then inherently different from like the owl that you see at night and the bird that you
Yeah,
see?
the birds
Like,
that fly away in the
right,
yes.
like that's speciesist and a bunch of other biases that we wouldn't like ascribing to humans. We wouldn't want to say that humans are prioritized due to intelligence. That's how you get genocides. So then
Mm.
how do we prioritize the importance of a villager versus the importance of another animal? Because you have Pascal over here eating scallops.
I mean, I'm thinking that they don't consider excuse me, they don't consider I guess fish and bugs as
What makes them less
animals.
valid?
I mean, they're bugs though.
There are more ants than people.
Yeah, that's what's
If all
terrifying.
of the spiders banded together, they could destroy us 8 times over.
K- Nightmare fodder.
Like, right, like what is the doctrine that separates these two things? Is it sentience?
Hmm.
Is it intelligence? Because if that's the case, you've opened up an ethical can of worms that PETA would have a field day with.
See, this is
My
why
brain
I
isn't
don't like
fun.
to think.
My brain is not fun, Aisha. So that was a fun conversation about headcanons.
Yes, headcanons and other things that I'm probably going to cut just because it doesn't pertain to the conversation. But we really, I want to.
Yes.
What is our 1 year? That's coming up, right?
I don't remember. I'd have to. I feel like I wrote it down somewhere approximately
Yeah.
1,000 years ago.
Right. Because I think it would be really fun to do like
A retrospective.
yeah, just or like not a blooper reel, but just kind of like things extras, like an extras
Things left on the cutting room
kind of
floor.
thing. Yeah.
Let's see. We'd have to go back to your channel.
Oh, that's right.
The original videos are on your channel.
Oh, that's right.
I do feel like it's coming up, but I'm not going to sit here and Google it
no,
right
I'll
now
look at it later
because I'm tired. Because I'm tired, frankly,
and also hungry.
Also that. But I mean, we're approaching our 1 year for when we started our own channel.
Yes.
So if you want to do it that way, then we are approaching 1 year.
Okay.
Either
one.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, we're definitely approaching 1 year for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us to before we talk about other stuff, some housekeeping.
Yep.
Next month is my birth month, and like the spoiled Roman emperor that I am, we get to celebrate with a topic of my choosing and a reading material that I will probably be choosing this weekend, sometime after I'm done with CasaCon.
Your eyes looked so dead.
Sometime after I'm finished with CasaCon.
You just looked so
so beaten down and tired because I am. So to be determined on the reading, but the topic we're covering is non-con and dub-con, non-consent and dubious consent.
Yay. I'm actually not that, but I think it'll be a really fun conversation. Well, I say fun.
We're gonna make non-con fun.
I think it'll be we will definitely have a lot to say.
Yeah, there will be many words.
A lot to say.
There will be minty words.
And I also definitely feel like liquor and cigarettes is going to get mentioned at least once because
that does have some dubcon.
It does have dubcon that I tried to pretend like it. That's fine because I'm into it.
I think almost all of our favorites have some dubcon, at least.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that as a trope because one, we really like doing trope analysis, and two, it's not my birthday without dubcon. It's my favorite flavor. It's my favorite flavor when I go to the ice cream parlor. It's like I would like some dubcon, please.
Thanks.
It's my favorite spice.
Sprinkle it on.
It's my favorite spice. It is an herbes de Provence. Oh, guess who's making a problematic spice rack design?
I like that.
Also, we want to say thank you to FujoCon for having us. We had a great time.
That was so much fun.
That was so much fun. If there's
I want to do it again.
Okay.
I would do it again. Yeah. Okay. It's fun.
If there's a convention that you'd like to see us at, hit them up and let them know that you'd like us to be there. So now that we've covered that, we also talk about parties. July, because it is my birth month, and also because thanks to you guys and your continued support, we just keep hitting milestone after milestone after milestone, and it would be too much to kind of like celebrate all of them at once. So we're going to fold it into my birthday. I am being extra magnanimous and sharing my birthday for the first time. I kid you not. The one time so I have a younger cousin, and our moms, like 1 year, were like, we're going to share a birthday because their birthday is the 5th of July. Mine's the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
One year, our parents like they're gonna share a birthday. We did it at the Arlington Stadium. It's a skating
Uh-huh.
party. What I did is I did the double envelopment maneuver from like one of fucking historical war. I circled around her party with my party, and by the end of it, I took her friends and her cake.
That's a very only child thing to do.
Don't fuck with only children.
That is a very
We are insane on a level that you are not ready for. The double envelopment. I think that was Genghis Khan who did that. I don't remember who patented the double envelopment maneuver because I'm not that much of a war historian.
Was he also an only child?
Oh, it was Hannibal. That's who did it. I know this about Hannibal because he had war elephants. Yes, Aisha?
I'm just trying to picture.
A war elephant?
Yeah.
So imagine an elephant.
Yeah.
So start with an elephant.
With like a
Armor?
with like a cannon or
No,
thing on it, like...
no. The elephant is the cannon. So they're stomping on people. You're riding them into war like giant horses. They're using their tusks. They're scaring horses. It's amazing. War elephants are great. With one foot, they can crush a man's skull like it's a fucking watermelon. It's amazing.
I feel like elephants don't enjoy that. Like, that feels like abuse.
Okay,
to
well, it didn't
animals.
matter because also Hannibal marched them from Africa across the Alps to Rome, where elephants don't belong. Many elephants died, in fact, but the ones that survived trampled many a Roman soldier.
They're probably pissed off.
Yes. Yes, Asia. War elephant. This isn't Babar. They aren't chill.
Listen,
War
Babar,
elephants.
that was such a good little... I loved Babar when I was little.
Everyone loved Babar. It's impossible. God, we're old. No one fucking knows what Babar is anymore. No one fucking knows what Babar is. Who in the audience remembers Babar? So that's our major housekeeping. Aisha, where can the good people find us?
I was gonna say, why did I almost say up your butt and around the corner? Did you ever say that as a kid?
No, Aisha, my parents loved me.
I used to say that to people, to like my brothers and friends all the time. I'm realizing I was such a tomboy.
Oh! Now you... We're about to scrap.
Wow, I was really running around.
We are, oh my God.
We're
about to
around the corner.
scrap. There was about to be scrappage.
So you can find us on Anchor.
Yes.
Also, Twitter.
Are we going to provide names for any of those things, or are we just going to leave?
The Yaoi Shelf.
People? Okay, there we go.
You can find us on Anchor. Just go to Anchor and search the Yaoi Shelf, and then you can find us on Twitter at the Yaoi Shelf.
Yes.
And also here on this channel, if you're watching at the Yaoi Shelf, we're everywhere at the
Good
Yaoi
job,
Shelf.
Aisha. See, you got. It's like, are we just gonna send people to Google and hope that they figure it out? Do they have a little divining rod and they just figure it out? Right? Is that what they're scrying and hope that they just find a way? Okay.
That's probably, it'll work.
No. If you would like to support this podcast, you may do so at anchor.fm/the Yaoi Shelf. We do appreciate those that help keep us running financially. Your support is not mandatory, but is very much appreciated. Your money's nice. I appreciate it. I don't need no help. I can do battle by myself.
I'm a strong, independent Black woman.
I am a strong sexual deviant who needs no assistance leading the life of an ethical hedonist.
And that's on what?
on smashing the patriarchy. Have a good night, everyone. Bye. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. That was a great